3. It's all a matter of perception, where we stand in space and time. There is no you or me that I can see, only delusions of the mind. Welcome back to Soul Perspectives.
I'm Kip.
And I'm Evan.
And today we're going to talk about, can we find joy and beauty in our grief?
That's a very good question. Can we find joy and beauty in our grief? You know, our programming tells us that loss is bad. Only bad emotions should be present, and only negative thoughts should be expressed. It's all bad. Unless a rapist dies or a murderer dies, then it's good. A lot of people with a lot of influence in the world to die.
And at the foundation of all this, all of our programming, even when people start off with the best intentions, individuals, companies, I'm going to speak to the higher angels. The problem is we've been so programmed against feeling good and feeling joy that we automatically retreat to fear, because that's what everyone's found that we respond to. Mm-hmm. And it's in everything, and including our grief. Mm. And this is a personal show. I had to set my dear Missy free. She was diagnosed with large cell lymphoma and just became so weak she couldn't help me help her. She couldn't breathe. And even into her passing and now beyond, she's continued to teach me. She really was a true master of love. And she taught me how to let go. She taught me how to die. She's continuing to teach me just the beauty that we can find in our grief when we move beyond our own personal fear of dying, the programming about how we should feel, because heaven forbid you should smile at a funeral or something. Oh my God, you'll be castigated.
Exactly.
And in fact, what I'd like to do is share what I actually wrote the day following her passing with you, because I think it gives us a good platform to launch off of. When perceived as love, rather than filtered through fear, our grief becomes ecstatic agony. Every tear that falls, a sign of our heart's immeasurable appreciation for the love we shared with other in story, but who has left the illusion of the physical to return to the supreme reality of love they and we are. Because in truth, what makes us ache to the depth of our true being is not that they have died, but they have moved beyond the ability of our five senses to feel them, to sense them on this plane. No different than if they had relocated to a new address and left us no way to contact them ever again. But even though we cannot see them, hear them, touch them, smell them, taste them, they can never really be gone from us, for they are us. We each imagine the other into being, into sharing love's dream. So weep and scream until you can weep and scream no more, but grieve in joy and gratitude, not in sorrow and suffering, as we mourn not the curse of their death, but to celebrate the lives of love we shared with them together. And that's really how I feel about it, is that this is a beautiful feeling we're having. You know, that what I'm feeling is not, oh my God, she suffered or she died, but I miss this person. I miss this being that I'm not going to have around me more. I can't touch and smell them in the same way. I can't feel her soft fur. I'm not going to see those beautiful eyes. And yeah, that hurts, but I'm celebrating missing that. I'm not celebrating its loss. I'm celebrating the time that I got to share with her. And I think that's a really important perspective shift for us as we address something as personal and as powerful as grief.
Well, and it's all about perspective shift, of course. That's what this show is about, Soul Perspectives, about sharing with you what may be some unique perspectives, and we welcome you to join the conversation, commenting below about your perspectives and how you're seeking to evolve them. This really all is about conscious evolution, evolving our consciousness, evolving our way of being with ourselves, with each other, recognizing better who we are at our core and our heart, and where the trappings of societal programming has molded us into being something that we're actually not, that's quite far from who we are. Most of what I hear from people when I ask them, especially something negative they express, I ask them to dig a little deeper and check your heart. How do you actually feel? It's a complete turnaround. It's so completely different from what they're saying. What they're saying is coming from programming. What's in their heart is something completely different. So we're having a hard time connecting with even who we are ourselves at our core. And so these perspectives are baked in very, very deeply in our minds. And so we are trapped by them. We're locked into that way of thinking. And really, we've found the most benefit, the most joy, the most forward progression in our conscious evolution by recognizing that these perspectives that we're holding dear as our own, this is my perspective, it's the way I see it, isn't really our own.
No.
And so this fact that, no, I'm grieving right now, my pet is dead and gone, I'm allowed to be sad about that and put our foot down and assert our right to free emotion.
To free finding joy.
Go ahead, you have the freedom. But if you want to consciously evolve, if you want to bring more heart to what you do, if you want to find out who you are in your core so you can bring that to the world, because we need you, we need the real you, then this is a great area to look, because it's a really hard one for people to deal with. It has a high emotional impact factor on most all of us. And we've all dealt with some kind of loss, whether our car was stolen, our house burned down, we had to put our pet down, or a partner or friend died through any means.
And both you and I have had so much experience with this that it's not coming from a place of not having suffered great loss and gone through great grief. So, you know, we're coming from a place of, we had to figure this out. We had to do the work, and we really had to dig deep to hear our hearts again. Because what you find, we talked about it a little bit with Peter Coyote when he would say, as far as the 60s, we won all the cultural battles, but we lost the political ones. And to me, what I heard was that it's easier to change hearts. The heart's there. The heart's already leading the way. It wants to do the right thing. It wanted, for instance, with the 60s, civil rights, good food, all of this. The heart was ready for that. Undoing that programming is hard. The fear will always come back around. The mind is screaming. This is a much quieter voice. You have to listen more closely. But when you do, it's so much more powerful, and you never want to leave it. But the head will always come back. It's like, it's whispering. It's constantly the mind chattering. But how can you feel like that? How can you do
It'll
that?
never
Programming,
happen.
digging in. But the more you reside in your heart, the more you realize you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to walk around in stress, anxiety, shame, regret, all these negative emotions. You don't have to feel, I've got to suffer because someone has passed. I can celebrate that. I don't have to let my pain turn into suffering. I don't have to let my pleasure turn into addictions. These are all things that happen with the mind. As the mind becomes more and more programmed and we become further removed from the heart, we've allowed the fear to completely take over as our main operating system. But again, when we get back, we start really paying attention to the heart, saying, like you said, my heart isn't suffering because Missy. My heart is weeping because I got to share a life with somebody who's not around me anymore. My heart is weeping because I see that beautiful face that I'm not going to see anymore. But I'm not suffering. The programming tells me, no, you should suffer. You should suffer. You should feel really, really bad. Why? Why should we feel that way about anything, not just our grief? This is all the programming.
Absolutely, and I'll use this example to bring up my father, who lost his wife, our stepmother, back in December of last year. And he immediately moved into, it's a funny story because he wanted to move into a retirement community and she didn't want that one. She wanted to go to this other one in another town. And so he compromised and went with her. He acquiesced, actually, against his wishes. And it was always a situation like, oh, you know, you'll move in there over my dead body. Well, guess what? She died. And guess what? He immediately moved down there. Within a month, he was living in the new place. But here's the catch, and this is the trappings of programming, and it's the trap that we get into, because he had this feeling that I should grieve her loss, I should be mourning for a year. Well, he just moved into a new senior community. They're very social. He's attractive and friendly and funny, and so there are always more women than men in those places just because life expectancy. Lifespans, and not an expectation, it's the reality of women living longer, and therefore there being more women there. And maybe men living on their own longer into their older age, whereas a woman needs a little more assistance, and maybe is smart and looking for more community and more socializing. But the end result is there are more women than men. So he puts himself out there in the dining room, and the women are all over him. Oh, who are you? The new guy. They touch him. And he is rejecting and resisting that because he is under this notion.
His programming.
I am supposed to mourn for a year. It would not be fair to her. It'd be like cheating on her. She just died. I'm not going to dance on her grave while the body is not even cold yet. That's the mentality that he's experiencing. And so he's having a very difficult time just acclimating socially to his new community because he's looking at them as looking to him as a partner figure, and he's not ready to even go there. And so he's feeling very isolated. He's staying in his apartment a lot and not going to the dining room to eat meals and socialize. And it's just an example of how this is a trap that we get into. And we get very self-righteous about it. No, I've got to do this. I'm a lesser person if I don't. I've got to prove myself to the world. I've got to uphold the value system that I think I employ. And it can be a trap. And again, I ask you, check your heart. I wonder if he really checked his heart, if he really got quiet and thought deeply. Does she need me to not experience love now? Do I need me to do that? Is there a real, valid reason that I can't experience love with another person, another woman, because my wife had died fairly recently? Now it's already 9 months now.
I want to share a great story about how a more evolved being handles this. I had this amazing friend. His name was Eric Purdom. He was a brilliant inventor, designed shoes for Patagonia, built custom guitars, you name it. Just a really amazing guy. He had a buffalo he was raising, built his own mini Stonehenge. Well, he got this really rare form of cancer called signet ring cell carcinoma. Only 70 people have ever had it. I always made the joke, if Eric was going to get cancer, of course he'd get something that special. And he was gone in a matter of 4 months. I got to experience a little bit of the dying process with him. I got to talk to him a couple of times. One time he told me, Kip, he said, I'm getting the ass kicking of lifetime. But he was going through a process, but he wasn't suffering. And I know that's hard to explain, but he really wasn't. It's just who Eric was as a person. And to sort of put an exclamation point on that story is that at a certain point, all his organs had begun to calcify. That's what your organs will do to protect themselves from the cancer. Well, he couldn't eat, and Eric was a big guy and loved his food. So his mom would make this huge batch of cookies and grabs a cookie, throws it in his mouth. His family's like, no, you're going to sick. We're going to have to take you to the hospital. It's going to be so much pain. And he's choosing. He spits it out in the sink. He goes, that was the best cookie I ever had. He finally died, and his entire family was surrounding him. He died they were in joy, he was in joy. But I also realized that for a lot of people, and another aspect of grief it's probably worth talking about, are things that we have unresolved with people sometimes. One, we can't change the past, so holding on to our grudges and stuff is something we really should try to work through while people are still alive if possible. But if not, a good friend of ours, Dr. Jamie Turndorf, actually wrote a book called Love Never Dies, which is all about this. Being able to connect with your loved ones after they've moved on so you can work through some of these issues that you may have had with a brother, sister, or father. That is also a thing. Now, whether you actually believe you're connecting with them or not, the exercise of having that conversation is really valuable. You can use this time of grief rather than to hold on and say, I never got to get even, or I never got to say my piece. Say it, get it out like you're talking. That catharsis is huge. And so that's another thing. If we're sitting here suffering and locked in our own misery, we're not going to also be able to use this passing, this grief, to maybe let go of some other resolved issues that we haven't. As long as we're in that fear, we're only seeing this much. We're not seeing the beauty that these experiences, the profound wisdom that these experiences are bringing to our lives.
And I think this is also a good opportunity to be clear that we're not saying just let go, just get over it. This isn't that at all. This is, let's consciously evolve, let's rethink everything we think, let's check our perspective, figure out where it came from, and figure out what's in our heart so we can operate in life from the heart. Like Heart Math Institute says, bring more heart into everything we do. And I'll share a personal experience that I had as well, too, because it's an example of not just letting go, but an alternative perspective. And I think it illuminates it very clearly. I had a partner for 14 years, and he died. Not only did he die unexpectedly, he died at home. He died at 2:30 in the morning. He got up to pee and fell backwards, slammed his head on a granite floor, and died from a massive internal brain hemorrhage. Of course, it's internal. But he had a brain bleed, and that's what killed him. They even tried to operate. They cut his whole skull open, and it didn't save him. He died within 20 minutes after the surgery was over. And so in the wake of that, this is someone I loved very much. He was an amazing person. You know, anyone watching this would be lucky to be with someone half as good as Andy. And everyone who knew him knew that. But I was able to find the joy in the grieving. I felt raw emotion. Tears came to my eyes constantly for the first couple of days, and they taper off. But it was an emotional period. I was raw with emotion, but I would not say I was suffering. I would not say I was lamenting and regretting and resentful of the fact that he was taken from me prematurely or in such a dramatic and sudden way. I was celebrating the time I did have with him, how wonderful he was, how lucky I was that I knew someone that wonderful. I put a bench in memoriam in Golden Gate Park for him, and I used the title of a song that he inspired me to write, and it was called "You Taught Me a New Way to Love." And that's on his bench. It has his name on one side, and "You Taught Me a New Way to Love," and my name on the other side. And I was grateful for that. Wow. Because I knew him, because I spent 14 years of my life with him, I'm not the person I was when I came along. Now, that's a very different perspective from, oh, I'm never going to get to see him. I'm not going to get to call him when I'm on the road trips anymore. I don't have my go-to guy. Who's going to take care of my home or whatever I'm missing or losing or lamenting or regretting. My perspective wasn't focused on those things. So did I just let go, just get over it? No way. Did I make a slight shift in my perspective, though, and choose to focus on why he was so wonderful, why I'm even feeling strong emotions? Like I said, some people we would celebrate if they died, right? This was the very, very opposite. He was the greatest guy, and he was gone very suddenly. And yet, I was able to celebrate the life I did have with him, the impact he made on me. I love that we've evolved nowadays into much more often, rather than having a memorial for someone, we have a celebration of life for someone. It's that simple shift. It's that right there. It's going from a wake, a mourning, a funeral, into a celebration of life, a gratitude session that we knew this person, that we were lucky enough to have our lives touched by this person. And that is a simple, minuscule shift in perspective that makes all the difference in the world.
And here's the thing, at the core of this too, when we said, that so much of our programming is fear, one of probably our primary foundational fear is fear of death, that fear of the unknown. So that's why dealing with your grief is so important, because it touches on that principal core fear in a way that few things don't. And I also wanted to say that, to your point about not letting go, I see Missy everywhere. I pull in the driveway, I'm like, did I get her food? She's not here. I come down the stairs looking for her. I hear her panting.
Creatures of habit.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that may go on your whole life. Here's the thing. People will say that grief is cylindrical, and I absolutely agree with that. But I figured out why. It's not that you feel any less emotion or any less love or any less loss for that being not in your life anymore. But what happens is as your life moves on, as you get further away from the point of their passing, the things around you that remind you of them become fewer. So right now, everything is missing. The smells, the bag of food, the toys, it's everywhere. Will those gradually dissipate as the house gets remodeled or as the toys get given to the Humane Society or whatever? Sure. But will there be that moment where something will be that trigger? Sure. Embrace that. It's a beautiful remembrance when those moments of grief, oh my God, I haven't thought about you in how long? That's not something you should push away. It's something to always celebrate and embrace.
I wish we could have done a show this soon after Andy died, because we're literally talking with someone who just had to put his precious dog down days ago. And Missy was a wonderful animal. I could vouch personally for that. So this is a living example of finding joy in grief. Right before our eyes.
And I cannot tell you how my heart's weeping.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
is.
what hearts do.
Yeah, and that's why you can't say get over it. You can't stop the heart from weeping.
And our head wants to go, shut up, shut up, shut up. Yeah. Shut up, heart.
Yeah.
Shut up. We're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Listen to your heart.
It's emotion, it's raw, it's real, it's there. It's just what we do with it and where we take it. And you're taking it to clearly a place of joy and gratitude and appreciation. And cultivating these three things are remarkably powerful tools in any circumstance where we're getting down. We're on the down, we're in the negative. And I just really appreciate and respect you for sitting here and sharing this and being willing to go public with all of this. We had a very public experience with Joan Nelson.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up Joan and her funeral. Funeral.
She had
our dear thanatologist.
Yeah, she thanatologist, self-proclaimed thanatologist, someone fascinated with death. So when she was, I think, like for her 75th, 80th birthday or something, and she might have already had a cancer diagnosis, she knew she was going to die at this point. She had been given a terminal diagnosis. And so she decided to have what she called a pre-mortem funeral, as opposed to a post-mortem funeral. It was a pre-mortem funeral. And they had the casket, and she might have even been laying the whole thing. And she got to have that experience of hearing what her friends would say if she was dead and gone. What a waste that we all go and say these wonderfully appreciative things about this person who's not there to hear them anymore.
We were just talking about this when I said, wouldn't it be a great exercise if we went around, rather than waiting till people pass and go, oh God, I never got to say the things, or experience even the things in life we don't stop to appreciate them, that they could be gone tomorrow. Take that thing, stop in the moment. If you really love something, you want to show it appreciation, do it now. Why wait till they're gone? Why wait till they're gone to shed the tears? Hug them, love them now. Tell them how much they mean to you. Because I think what that's ultimately going to do, it's going to make you appreciate them more and these things more while they're alive.
And not to mention, it's going to make you grateful that you did it.
Absolutely.
So when they are dead and gone, you don't have those regrets. I can't tell you how many people I spoke with after Andy died who said, oh, we were always talking about get together. Oh, we kept meaning to come in and have lunch with them. Do those things.
Yes.
Word to the wise. Do those things. You appreciate someone, you value them, have the lunch. See them, make the time. We're all busy. We're all trying to put food on the table. We're all pulled a bunch of different directions. We are creatures that have been most historically comfortable living in tribes of 150, and we live in a society in the United States of 340 million. We're lost in a sea of people. So the ones that we do love, the ones who have touched our lives and mean something to us, make that count. Make that count. Savor that. Express it. And embody it and live it, enjoy it, bask in it. It's there for you. Those relationships we cherish, those people who we feel are great, there are people, cherish them. They're not going to be around forever, and nor will you.
and that's it. Here, the lesson that comes out of that is, not only is now all we have, that's an absolute. Now is all we got. You got no ability to change the past, and no ability to control the future. But also, we're not guaranteed of another now.
Yeah.
So make the most of every now you have. That's what this is about as much as anything else. Take that moment, make the most of your love in every moment you have. Listen to your heart. Don't, if your heart's telling you to do something, do it. Listen to it. You may not get another chance to do that again. You only have this now.
It's all a matter of perception, and we're here to help you evolve your perspectives on things, so that your perception is one of beauty, joy, is one of a magical world full of miracles all around us, and that you'll find your place of comfort and your tribe who nurtures and supports and bolsters you emotionally, physically, and otherwise, and that we can get through this together, and that we need each other.
We will.
We're one human family. We need each other, and now more than ever, we all see harm being committed around the world to people, to animals, to the environment itself, the oceans, the lands, the trees, the forests, all of it.
Boy,
and
that's such an
so
important
we
point.
need to come together and unite this human family.
So important.
And we need to find ways to do that. The forces that have divided us very successfully in order to conquer us have created an us versus them mentality in our minds to pit us against each other. Our work, therefore, is to check what's in our hearts and find more ways to find harmony around us and unify the human family so we can get through this dark age, this hostile environment.
And to paraphrase our beloved Jacques Fresco, it took all of us to wound us. It will take all of us to heal it.
check your perspective, see if it's really serving you, if it's helping you find harmony and feel productive and that you're making a difference in the world. We do. I feel very much harmony in my heart, that I am doing what I can to participate in the healing of our human family and help bring us forward to consciously evolve towards a place where we will thrive as a human family at last.
And we're here to help you evolve with us. We don't know anything. We're just a couple of guys figuring it out too, but we're putting it out there so that you can find wisdom from us, and hopefully we'll get some wisdom from you as well.
Join the conversation, comment below, join our soul tribe, and let's do this together. We will see you next week for another episode of Soul Perspectives. In the meantime, we've got 6 shows we're making every week, so go to our channels, Soul Documentary on Vimeo, on YouTube, etc. Kip will invite you to the website.
Go to souldocumentary.love and be sure to go to the Venus Project page, because we've got a film coming out in November that you are not going to want to miss. Come to souldocumentary.love, love us, because we are going to love you back.
In the meantime, it's all a matter of perception. We love you. Thanks for joining us. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's all a matter of perception, where we stand in space and time. There is no you or me that I can see, only delusions of the mind.